welcome to Breaking Bread, hosted by me, Crunk Chocolate, a show where we break verbal bread with a quote-unquote enemy. Whenever Manchester City has an upcoming match, I will be here having a conversation with a supporter of City's upcoming opponent. Shout out to everybody enjoying this on Patreon. Appreciate you. You're enjoying the full episode, having a grand time. Shout out to everyone who's enjoying the first 11 minutes. It's going to be short for you. It will be sweet. You enjoy yourself, but think about subscribing to our $6 tier of Patreon. $6 a month. That is one day without coffee. Brew something at home. That's one less pint. You'll get home safe. Just think about subscribing to our Patreon. You get tons of amazing content, ever growing. SOB meetup in Kansas City next year. You get first dibs to any of the events and everything that we're going to, merch, all of those other things. You get discounts on all that fun stuff. So check out our Patreon. Today, we are talking Man City versus Newcastle. I have admittedly been pretty tough on Newcastle, especially with our guest. And he has always told me to, maybe relax on his manager, be more mindful. And I can't do that. They are not having a great season. It has been awful. I used to call them our oil siblings. I don't even address them now. Like, I walk past them and I put my hand up. It's just like, it's awkward. So maybe this match will be pointing them in the right direction. What is going wrong? What is going right? Shady Gang, give it up to Elijah because he's the man with all the information. How are you, friend?
I'm good. I think there's like I don't know. I'm very much in the mindset of there's a lot of overreactions going on, and I think we've done this song and dance 3 years in a row where Newcastle have these insanely slow start. And then around this time, November, December, they start putting things together. And all of a sudden, before you know it, they're fighting for the Champions League spot in the spring. So I know it's a long season.
But y'all have been 14th before? Y'all have been in 14th during the league?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing is, I don't know. When you come from nothing, you're just like, all right, whatever, man. Like, bro. I'm chilling. Like, we're in a good spot in Champions League. We're still in the FL Cup. FA Cup's coming up somewhat soon. Like, we're not a threat to be relegated. There's a decent chance that you can make a nice little run in Europe. And I think, for perspective, you got to remember last time Newcastle were in Europe, it was very disappointing. They were in a difficult group, albeit, and they had some cool away days, good matches, good moments against PSG and Milan and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately didn't make it out of the group stage. And now they seem like they are on the right track to make it to the knockout stages in this weird new format. So I think if you're a Newcastle fan and you said, hey, you may finish 10th and you have a good cup run and you have a decent little run in Champions League, I think Newcastle fans overall would be fine with that result, especially given that injury-wise they've not had the best start to the season. And I think overall individual players have been struggling more so than some of the tactics, I would say. But, that's neither here nor there.
Okay. Hey, you're supporting the club, and I'm going to be honest. When I specifically became a City fan, it was in the hopes that one day they would be kicking the asses of United. And we're here, but I'm not going to lie. Like, actually, City were down there for multiple months last season. Then they ended up in third. So that is proof that you were right. You can straighten things out and still get into one of those European spots. So I understand. I digress. This is why we have guests from other clubs on, because if it was just me, I would just be killing Newcastle for the next 30 minutes or so.
You would be killing Newcastle if it just in general. Like if like they had a season where they were like in third for a good amount of time, and you were like, I don't know, they're still not that good. And it's like, bro,
no, I was saying Eddie Howe specifically. Like it's respect. The players are the players. I am just not moved by Eddie Howe, and I don't
I
know,
think that
especially when you
that's
start
I
so
think that's
slow every
fair.
single year. Like
It's fair, but I raise to you still. It's just the alternatives are, and like Spurs are a great example of this. Of
mm,
you may not have the pep, or you may not have. I'm not gonna. How you feel about Howe is how I feel about Arteta, but in that same vein, it's like you may not have these guys that are clearly have the it factor to potentially win you the league, but they have enough to keep you competitive until the right manager comes along. And that's where I think Eddie Howe is. Like, I don't know if Eddie Howe ever will win a league. When they hired Eddie Howe, I was like, I think he could win a cup. He did. I thought he would be the manager that would end Newcastle's cup drought. But I'm like, I don't know if Eddie Howe's got the wherewithal to make a deep Champions League run or make a Champions League final or whatever. And you kind of see with Spurs, like you chasing like instead of committing to a manager and letting the cards play, trying to find the next hottest thing, trying to find the next manager doesn't always bode well. And I think Newcastle are kind of in a similar situation where they honestly don't have the infrastructure nor the. I mean, we'll see now. They've completely changed the front office, but they didn't really have the infrastructure to take a lot of swings on managers. And honestly, the Isak sale is actually, I wouldn't say, it's blessing in disguise in the sense of now you actually are not really concerned about financial fair play. You have money coming in from your first big player sale. You kind of negotiated and figured out what that looks like for you going forward. You now have the ability to have you now have stability elsewhere, and you can actually start to ask questions of, all right, what are we doing wrong? Where can we improve? If that is the manager, what's out there? You can have an actual process instead of whatever the hell Newcastle's been doing before. Because again, that's the other thing is like, all right, yeah, you fire Eddie Howe, and it's like what are you going to do now? You have a brand new sporting director, a brand new CEO that just started a couple months ago. It's not in your best interest, in my opinion, to not let them figure out their vision for the team, start to implement that, and like I think it makes sense to let them implement their vision, start to implement their vision. If Eddie Howe doesn't fit, then Eddie Howe doesn't fit, and they actually have time and resources and have a better idea of what the board wants in order to actually go and find the manager that will take Newcastle to the next level. But for now, I mean, I don't know. Like you're not any threat of relegation. Maybe that's me being like fair weather, but I'm also like we've seen Newcastle go on a stupid run every year around December into like right before Christmas and the Boxing Day, and then like through January and February they go on a silly run every single year, and then all of a sudden they're fighting for Europe again, and you're like, okay, well, looks like we're going to be in Europa or Conference League. And I don't think anyone would be upset with that given how it started and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's the dirty on Eddie Howe so far. We'll see.
Interesting. The match is at St. James, and at least St. James for the most part is still a fortress.
Yeah.
That is,
and that's been the issue this whole year is the away form has been the issue. It's not really been the home form, and it's honestly been the away league form. That's honestly it. And it's unfortunate if you don't win away, like you end up in this situation where you're in 14th now. But it wasn't even like until recently, Newcastle weren't even like losing badly away. It was like 0-0 draws, and it was like, okay, well that's a point, and we could have had 3 points. So yeah, St. James is still a fortress, still performing at home, all that, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see.
That's fair. Let's talk about the transfers made, because naturally everybody knows it. You said it. Alexander Isak, he left. That whole drama, I thought was hilarious, and obviously, I won't say y'all won it because it was kind of like a shit throwing contest, but Alexander Isak showing up to Liverpool incredibly out of shape and not ready to help this club. And it almost feels like they potentially are like out of the race already as the champions because they spent big money, and the only big money move that they have made that is consistently helping is Ekatike. So that's nice, but they were able to use a lot of that money and spend a decent amount of that money as well, building onto the squad, bringing in Wisa and Alanga. Jacob Ramsey is the only one that I was like, they might be reaching a little bit too much. And then Nick Voltamata, shout out to 50 Plus Donor. They're a very big fan of him. I wasn't aware he's 23. Like, he's one of those dudes who's young, but he looks old. But
he's white. That you can say it, man. He's that's what. Hey, Crunk didn't want to say it, but I'll say it. He just got a case of white man face. That's it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like